Hey there, how's it going, everybody? So in our last tutorial, we introduced you to spatial data science, whereby we started by installing and opening Jupyter notebooks within our ArcGIS Pro license. So over social media platforms, I received messages from different people, saying they didn't have an ArcGIS Pro license and they really wanted to learn spatial data science. So what I can say is you can get a license for 60 days, which is a free trial license for ArcGIS Pro if you really want to learn spatial data science using the ArcGIS notebooks. Or for the sake of this tutorial, we're going to be learning how to use an alternative, and for this alternative, we're going to be using Jupyter notebooks. Okay, so I already have Jupyter notebooks installed here, but I do not have the relevant Python libraries within my Jupyter notebooks in order to perform spatial data science. So in this tutorial, we're going to be learning how to install those libraries and how to get started with spatial data science, and how we're going to be using the ArcGIS Python API. So in order for us to get started, I've already opened up my browser here. So what you need to do is you need to go to www.anaconda.com and download Anaconda, which is just an IDE which helps you to install all the relevant Python libraries. As you can see here, we get installed a lot of libraries which are going to be helping us perform our spatial data science within this tutorial. So just navigate to anaconda.com and you just navigate to download. So you just click on get started, and there's going to be a download option which appears there, and then you're just gonna have to navigate to the bottom here. So as for me, I use Windows, so I'm just gonna click on 64-bit graphic installer, which is 457 megabytes, and then I install that. So I'm not gonna click here because I already have this installed on my machine. But for anyone who has Mac, you just have options here and there, and then anyone who is using Linux just have some options here, and it's going to be installing the latest version of Python, which is Python 3.8. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave you guys to download that, and I'm gonna move on to the next step. Okay, so now what we do when we have downloaded our Anaconda, it means that Anaconda is now installed within our machine. It's been downloaded within our machine and has also been installed within our machine. So what we need to do is, if you navigate to a start folder here, it's just going to display like all the packages that we have, and we're just gonna look for Anaconda, which is right here. And then we navigate to this section, which is reading Jupyter notebook, and then we right click this one, and then we go to more, and then we open file location, so that we see the environments which came with this Anaconda when we downloaded it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this Anaconda prompt in order for us to install relevant packages, which include the ArcGIS API for Python. So I'm just going to run this as an administrator so that we don't have any complications when it comes to write permissions or whatever the machine is going to ask for. So I'm just going to leave this to open, and while it's opening, I'm just going to be saying these notebooks actually help us perform spatial data science in a fast and easy way, which you can all adapt, and which will be visual and allow us to share these packages with a lot of people on the internet. Okay, so now that I've opened this as an administrator, we already see that there's a BAS here, which really means that this is our BAS environment within Anaconda. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type a command which is going to help us install the ArcGIS API for Python. So to do that, I'm just going to be typing conda install -c -sv ArcGIS. So then we hit enter, and then it's going to try to fetch all the libraries. So my network connection is a bit slow right here, so I'm just going to pause this video, and then we're going to continue after it does a little downloading of these packages. Okay, so right here we've reached our first stage of the installation process, and it gives me the information that it's going to be updating this ArcGIS, because I already have this in my machine because I already have ArcGIS Pro, so it comes with these packages installed. But then now it tells me that it's going to be installing these new packages, which are ArcGIS Blinker, LEC, LTML. Now there are quite a lot of packages which have been stated here, so you don't need to know these packages by name, but if you run the commands, it's basically going to install everything for you. So now it wants us to confirm whether we want to proceed or not. So I'm just going to type Y in order to confirm that I want to proceed. And now, as you can see, it's preparing the transactions, and now it's verifying the transaction. So I'm just going to pause this video again, and then we're going to continue after it has finished executing. Okay, so as you have seen, it's preparing this transaction done. It is also done. It's also done verifying and executing the transaction. So now what we're going to do is we want to open the Jupyter notebook and see how we can get started. So I'm just going to type Jupyter. I'm just going to type Jupyter notebook here in order for it to open the notebook. Okay, so as I've typed the command, and then it's going to open Jupyter notebooks, which I have downloaded using Anaconda. Okay, so once I type Jupyter notebook, then it's going to open the notebooks. But unfortunately, I'm not going to open using this method because due to the space in my computer, it's just going to freeze and we're just going to get stuck. So I'm going to do this manually. So I already have the Anaconda app on my taskbar. So I'm just going to click on that Anaconda app, and it's going to open the Jupyter notebooks manually, not by typing the commands. But if you have a computer which is a huge storage, especially the processing memory, then you can basically just use the command line to open the Jupyter notebooks, and it's just going to open them within your browser. So let's just wait. The port 880 is already in use. Okay, yeah, because I already opened using the command line, so it's already in use. So now it's using port 8889, which is another port which Jupyter notebooks can be used on. Okay, so this is the default folder within my laptop. So now what I need to do is I need to navigate to a folder in which I want to start working on for this project. So I normally working on the desktop, and within my desktop there's a folder African Surveyors Academy. So this one. Okay, so I'm just gonna create a folder here. I'm just gonna create a folder, and then I'm just gonna name this folder. I'm just gonna take here, and then I'm gonna click on rename. I'm just gonna name this ArcGIS API for Python. And I'm gonna rename that, and then I'm going to open that. So now this is where I'm going to be storing all the notebooks that we're gonna be doing for this tutorials. And soon after this tutorial, I'm gonna be uploading this notebook onto my GitHub repository, so that you guys can actually get to see some of the syntax that I've been using within this tutorial. Okay, so let's just get started with creating that. So I'm just going to click on new, and then I navigate to Python 3 notebook, and then it's just going to open another new tab within my browser, which is going to give me the. Okay, so now it's starting the kernel, whereby I can write the commands for my data analysis and my Jupyter notebooks project, special project. Okay, so let's just wait for it to open. Okay, yeah. So I remember in my first tutorial we learned about how we can use Markdown to give titles to these notebooks and give relevant text to these notebooks, so that anybody who's going to be reading this is going to be making sense of what we're going to be doing. Okay, so I think I just have to mention that if we were going to be using ArcGIS Pro, which is right over here within my taskbar, we don't need to have to be going through all this process, like installing all these packages and accepting the terms or whatever, or even using the browser. We're just going to have to do this within our ArcGIS Pro software. So anyway, since we already have opened this within our browser, I'm just going to type a little Markdown, which is going to remind us of what we're going to be doing. So within this Markdown, I'm just going to be typing. Let me just give this a title. Which title can I give this? So I'm just gonna give it. What title can I give it? Okay, so I'm just gonna say Introduction to Jupyter Notebooks for Spatial Analysis. Okay, so I'm just gonna change this to Markdown language, then it's gonna be like that, and then I'm just gonna run the cell, and then it produces some Markdown language. So I'm just gonna type. Remember what the Markdown syntax that we used last time looked like. So I'm just gonna put in italic, and I'm just gonna say, in this tutorial we are going to be using the Jupyter, Jupyter notebooks to create, okay, sorry, to analyze spatial data. Okay, and then I'm just gonna say run that, and then oops, sorry, that was an invalid syntax. Oh, okay, so I think I forgot the markdown syntax. I'm just gonna type markdown syntax because I think I forgot that. And so I'm just gonna go markdown cheat sheet right here. So I wanted to write I want to put it in italics. So I think for this I need to navigate to this cheat sheet because I'm not a good fan of markdown language. So but you guys can really use this when you want to. Okay, so italics. Okay, so I put an asterisk. I don't know what I did wrong. I'm not sure what I did wrong, but anyway, let's just remove this and continue with this tutorial so that we don't have to. Oops. Okay. Now I see this has been rendered as code. So, oops. I remember the first tutorial we once came across this, but it didn't give us any errors because I think it's because we were using the ArcGIS software. But now I'm gonna be using the markdown, and then it's gonna be run that, and then it's going to be italic. Okay, so I was right. So I think I know my markdown language. Okay, so now, so for those who are familiar with HTML, we can actually use HTML to say I want to add an image to this. So I can just put in img src here, and then I put the link to my image, and then I just give it some parameters. I'll just say a height of 50, and then a width of also 50, and then like that. So I'm just gonna put this image, copy this image. So I'm just gonna copy image address, and then I'm just gonna paste it within this like that, and then I'm just gonna run that. Oops, I need to make it markdown. Then I'm just gonna run that. Oh, okay, so I think we just have to leave this like that and deal with the tutorial first, and oops, okay, so I think I managed to correct that. Okay, I figured that I was leaving out these quotation marks, and then just gonna run that as markdown. It's going to display an image. So now what we want to do is we want to import those packages that we just installed within our machine. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna start writing our commands within this box. So I'm sure in the last series we used the pandas data frame, but for this one we're just gonna be dealing with maps, right? Because what we do is we're just gonna be mapping all the way. So I'm just gonna import that ArcGIS library. So in order to do that, we just from ArcGIS.gis import GIS, and we're just gonna call we're just gonna declare a GIS variable, and then we call the GIS method, and then we're just gonna run that. Oops, I declared it as markdown again. I think I'm having a problem with this. Okay, so let me just run that, and it's going to start importing the GIS library. So while it's doing that, I think I'm just gonna write a markdown here to indicate what we just did. So I'm just gonna type we just imported the ArcGIS API for Python by calling it from the, I'm just gonna open that ArcGIS library for the Python language. Okay, yeah, that is, so it is finished. It is finished importing that, and we are also finished writing some markdown here. So I'm just gonna run this markdown, and it's gonna be writing that. Okay, so now what we want to do, remember in the last tutorial I told you that if there's an asterisk here, it means that that cell that you just written is running. Okay, so when it displays a number, then it means that it's finished running, and we can move on to the next stage. Okay, so on the next stage, what we want to do now is we want to add a map to our data. Yeah, we basically want to add a map. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to declare a map variable, And then within this map variable, I'm going to call the GIS library and then map it to a certain location. So which location can we use? So I'm just going to call the location Africa. And then, okay, so we've declared a variable and then we have called the library to create a map which is named for this location, for this Africa location. So basically what it's going to do here, it's going to just to geocode this this location that we've stated here. So now if we just write this like this, it's not going to do anything. So I'm just going to say now we need to display the map within our notebook. So I'm just going to call back the map variable, and then I'm just going to run that. And then as you can see, it's running within that, and let's just give it some time to, okay, now it's loading the map. So basically you need to have an internet connection in order for you to see this. Okay, so it has displayed our map here within this output space, which is just below the cell that we just ran. Okay, so don't worry about everything. I'm just, when I publish this on my GitHub, I'm going to put like all the necessary markdown, which is going to help you guys understand what has been going on within this tutorial. Okay, so now we just created our map, which has been geocoded using this Africa, using this African name, and okay, so I can actually change this name to Zimbabwe, or I can call it Nigeria, or I can call it Zambia, or I can call it Namibia, or any kind of name that can be geocoded using the Esri service. Okay, so now what we want to do is we can also do some bit of styling on our map. Like for example, I can actually center this map. Okay, so to do that, I'm just going to call back the map variable, and then I can call the center to, and then I'm going to say I need to center it where. So remember we now need to plot this using X and Y. So I need to center this over Zimbabwe, and I'm not sure which coordinates are within Zimbabwe. Sorry for that, but I just had to download. So I just had to Google this, and then I just figured that it's between 19 and 29. So this 19 is on the southern side, so this is basically going to be a negative right here. So I'm just gonna plot a negative here, and then I'm gonna plot that. And then I'm just gonna take the the eastern coordinates, and then I'm just gonna copy, and then I'm gonna paste that, and then I'm gonna also be able to map this to zoom in, and which zoom size can I use? I think I'm just going to use zoom size of 7, and then I'm just going to run that. So all the changes that occur whenever we're going to be using this map variable are going to occur within this map, simply because this map is dependent on this variable which is named map. But if we were to declare another new variable, that means we're going to be getting a new map which is going to be displayed as an output just below the cell that we have declared a variable for. Okay, so with that being said, so in this tutorial, remember we just wanted to learn how to install, but we're not just going to install these packages. We're just going to be doing like some basic stuff before we move on to the more complex stuff in the other tutorials you're going to be following. So now that our map has been centered on Zimbabwe and it has also been zoomed to an extent, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to get to change the base map for this map. So I don't really know the syntax for how we can add a base map. So in order to do that, I'm just gonna call the base map function, and then it's going to give me a list of all the base maps. So to do that, I'm just gonna type map.base maps, and then I'm just gonna run that, and then it's going to return a JSON file which contains all the base maps that I can actually use for this map. So I don't know which base map you guys want to use, but I think I like to use the satellite. Oh, okay, let me just use this dark gray factor because it's easier to load. Yeah, so we don't want to waste time trying to load an image set for all this within this tutorial. So I'm just going to use this dark gray factor. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to copy that, Control C, and then I'm just going to. So now what I want to do is I want to change the base map for this. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm just going to call that map variable again, and then I call the base map function, and then I'm just going to paste that in order for us to change the base map. And then I'm just going to run that, and then as you can see, if we go up here, our map is now loading a new view layer, and then it's going to change the base map to the one that we just selected, which is dark gray vector. So I'm just gonna leave that to load. I think my network is becoming slow, but yeah, our base map is now loaded. As you can see, the base map has changed. So you guys can actually select from all these base maps which are within the Esri platform. Okay, so now we're gonna be moving on to the next stage, which is I'm going to try to search for layers which exist over the Esri platform, which has been made public by their creators and publishers. So I'm just gonna declare a variable which we're just going to call display. Just gonna call it display content is equal to the GIS library. So I'm looking for content, and then what do I want to do with this content? I want to search. What do I want to search for? What do I want to search? I want to search for Zimbabwe. Anything to do with Zimbabwe COVID-19. And which item types am I looking for? I'm looking for feature layers. So I'm just gonna call the feature layer there. And how many items do I want to be returned? Because I don't want to search something and then I get a whole list which is going to make my computer freeze or paralyze, or I don't know what you guys call it. So I'm just gonna say maximum items that I need. Are just gonna be 10. I'm just limiting this to 10. So here, what is going to happen here is it's going to list all the feature layers which exist, which have been made public, which contain this name Zimbabwe COVID-19. So I'm just gonna run that. Just gonna click on run there, and oops, see what happened here is it finished processing, but then it didn't display anything. I'm sure you guys now know why it didn't display anything. So the reason why it didn't display anything is because I didn't call back this variable which is just displayed here. So it didn't have anything to do. As you can see, what we did above here, in order to display our map, we had to call the map variable that we just declared here for it to be able to present an output. So I'm just going to run this cell again. Okay, and it has presented this output with item title and the owner of the layer. So as you can see, we have quite a number of layers, but this appearance is not quite pleasing. So I'm just going to use the Python library which helps us display content in a more styled manner, which is actually appetizing when you actually look at it. Okay, so I'm just gonna say from the IPython library display function, I want to import. Sorry, I think I have a problem with spelling. So I want to import the display, and then I'm just going to loop all over these build items which will output, and I'm just going to say for item in display content, which is my variable, which is right here. We just declared for the search variable here. For these search parameters, I want to loop over this content, and this is going to be displayed on my within my notebook. So I'm just going to display that. Oops. I want to display the items. Okay, so I'm just going to run that, and it's going to present an output which is more easy to understand and easy, which can actually be visualized. Oops, so now I can actually see that much of this content is belongs to me, because I have this dataset, and I also have this function distribution program dataset, and I also have this case fatality rate by age group, and these cases and deaths by age group, and we also have some other layers which belong to other people here, which are stated here. Okay, so what we want to do now is, I remember adding this feature layer some time ago. Okay, anyway, so what we're going to do now is we want to add want to add these layers that we just searched onto this map. As you can see, the map is just a map without anything being displayed, but we kind of want to start mapping these things and make sure that they're displayed within this map. So what we're going to do is we want to add these feature layers onto our map. So in order to do that, now what we need to do, let me just add a title here. I'm just going to put it a header 3. So I'm just going to say adding content to map, and then I'm just going to put that as markdown. I'm just going to run that markdown, and then I'm just going to go back to code. Okay, so now in order to do that, I'm just going to declare another variable. So I'm just going to say what variable can I declare? I'm just going to say point of interest POI is equal to the display content. So the display content, remember the display content is the content that we just gave some search parameters here, and which was returned by our data. So basically it's going to collect everything which has been searched here. Okay, so the display content here, and what you want to do this display content, we want to map it to, we want to add it to the map. So we're just going to have to call the map variable again, and then we call the add layer function. So we're just going to pass some parameters to this function. So now the parameters that we're going to be passing is, we want to add this point of interest, which is also the display content, which is also displayed within the search function here. So we're just going to pass the POI as a parameter to that additional content. So I know this is quite a lot to digest, but these are some of the basics that you begin with when you're learning the ArcGIS API for Python. So let me just run this block, and then as you can see, it's still processing that because it's going to be trying to add all these layers to the map. I'm not sure if all these layers are going to be added, depending on the settings on which these guys are set to their feature layers. I'm not sure if they're going to be able to be displayed, all of them, but let's just see what we're going to get after we run this function. So it's still processing. Oops. Okay, so some of these, it's saying there's a token required, error code 499, item .layers is a 9 type object, nothing to be added to the map. Okay, so I think some of these layers are actually private, and we just noticed that we received about 3 errors. Okay, 3 errors. So how many contents were returned? We got okay, some of these are just tables without being displayed. I think these are other like the tables which couldn't be displayed. Okay. So anyway, our function finished running, our code finished running. As you can see, it has displayed a number. So now what we want to do is we want to go back to a map and see if our layer was actually added to the map. Oops, wow. So I'm sure that this dataset was actually added to the map here, as you can see. So I just clicked on this in order for us to see what this is. So oops, yeah, it actually got to add my own data set, which is this case distribution by province. Okay, so I think it managed to map this because usually on my browser it's like I'm always logged into the Azure platform. So when it was trying to get some of these guys feature layers, it requires a token in order for you to use the API. So you can always navigate to the developer section within ArcGIS. So let me just type this for you guys in order for you to see. So I'm just going to type developers.arcgis.com. So I'm just going to, okay, so what you guys need to do is you need to navigate to this site. Okay, so yeah, you need to navigate to this site. So on this site, this is where you're going to be getting like all the access tokens that you need in order for you to build fascinating tools and you be able to use the API. So whenever you create an account on the ArcGIS developers platform, you get to sign in. As you can see, I'm already signed in with my other account because I think I have multiple accounts on this platform due to multiple organizations that I belong to. Okay, so you just sign in and then you navigate to your dashboard. So on your dashboard, that's where you can get access tokens. So in order for you to use access tokens, you have to add them somewhere here, somewhere at the top when you import these libraries, in order for you not to get these errors which require some kind of authentication, because the API restricts access to some content, because maybe it's like there are hackers out there that will actually try to use these tokens for hacking purposes. So due to that, it only gave me the ability to use my own content which I've actually uploaded to the platform. So you just go to developers.arcgis.com, you create an account, and then once you're in your account, you navigate to the dashboard where you can be able to get your API keys and your restrict and then you actually get your API keys, and then you access tokens. So I think that's it for this tutorial, guys. Now, so I hope you've learned a basic introduction to using this ArcGIS API for Python, and we're gonna be learning more in the future tutorial videos. So I hope you guys subscribe, like this video, and share with everyone else who would like to know how to use this Python API to perform special analysis functions within their project. So I hope to see you guys in the next tutorial.